Close your eyes for a moment. Go ahead just for a second. Forget about the smartphone in your hand. Forget about the 24-hour news cycle blaring on the TV. Forget about the bills sitting on the kitchen counter that seem to get higher every single month. Take a deep breath. Now come back with me. Can you hear that? It's the sound of a different world. It's Friday afternoon, 1955. Dad just got home from the plant, or maybe the office is closed, smelling like hard work and tobacco smoke. He hands Mom that brown paper envelope, his weekly pay. And that meant one very important thing. It was time for the weekly grocery trip. Do you remember the anticipation? It wasn't a chore back then, not like it is today. Today, grocery shopping feels like a battle. A battle against rising prices, against crowds, against stress. But back then, going to the A&P or the Kroger, or maybe the local Piggly Wiggly down on Main Street, it was an event. It was a family affair. Let's walk through those automatic doors together. Do you remember when those pressure pads on the floor that opened the doors felt like magic? Step inside. What's the first thing that hits you? For me, it's always the smell. It wasn't the sterile chemical smell of sanitizer that hits you in stores today. No, a grocery store in 1955 smelled like abundance. It smelled like the earth coming from the potato bins where the potatoes still had real dirt on them. It smelled like fresh sawdust scattered on the floor behind the butcher counter to soak up the day's work. It smelled sweet, like the fresh donuts in the bakery case that you hoped Mom might let you have. And cutting through it all, that rich, intoxicating aroma of fresh coffee beans being ground right there at the end of the aisle in that big red grinder. That smell, it was the smell of security. It was the smell of knowing that the pantry was going to be full this week. Let's grab a cart. Oh, Lord have mercy, those carts. Do you remember them? They weren't lightweight plastic. They were heavy metal bars, cold to the touch. And somehow, every single one of them seemed to have that one front wheel that wanted to go left when you wanted to go straight. Squeak, squeak down the linoleum aisle. But you didn't mind the squeak, because you were about to fill that cart to the absolute brim. Today, we're going to do something that feels impossible now. We are going to take a crisp green $100 bill from 1955, and we are going to spend it at the grocery store. Now you have to understand $100 in the mid-50s? That wasn't just walking around money. For a lot of folks, that was a month's rent, a car payment, and utilities combined. If you flashed a $100 bill at the checkout, the cashier would probably call the manager over to make sure it was real. It was a fortune. So keep that $100 bill tucked safe in your pocket. We won't even need close to that today to feed a family of 5 like kings. Let's start where Mama always started. The heart of the American grocery store in the 1950s, the meat counter. This is where the difference between then and now really hits you in the gut. Today you walk to the meat section, and what do you see? Rows and rows of styrofoam trays wrapped in plastic, sitting under humming fluorescent lights. You don't talk to anyone. You just look at the prices. Your heart skips a beat at the cost of a steak, and maybe you settle for ground turkey instead. But in 1955, you had a relationship with your butcher. There he was standing behind the glass case, wearing a clean white apron, maybe stained a little with blood at the end of a long Friday. He had a pencil tucked behind his ear. He knew your mom's name. He knew that your dad liked his pork chops cut thick. "What can I get for you today, Mrs. Johnson?" He'd ask with a genuine smile, and Mom didn't have to cringe when she looked at the prices. Let's talk about red meat. Good American beef. In 1955. A beautiful rib roast, the kind you'd serve for Sunday dinner when the preacher was coming over, was maybe 75 cents a pound. Sirloin steak, thick marbled steak, around 89 cents a pound. Think about that. Less than $1 a pound for premium steak. Mom could order a 5-pound roast for Sunday, dinner enough to feed the whole family, and have leftovers for sandwiches on Monday, and it would cost her maybe $4. The butcher would take that beautiful cut of meat, wrap it tight in thick pink or brown butcher paper, tie it off with white string from a big spool hanging from the ceiling, and mark the price with a grease pencil. It wasn't just beef. Bacon now. Real stuff, smoky and thick, that sizzled up in the cast iron skillet on Saturday morning, was about 65 cents a pound. A whole fryer chicken for Sunday supper was maybe 49 cents a pound. You could fill the entire bottom basket of that metal cart with roasts, hams, chickens, and steaks. Enough meat for 2 weeks, and you probably haven't even spent $15 yet. Do you? Remember that feeling? The feeling of not being afraid at the meat counter? The feeling that if you worked hard, you deserved to eat well? It's a feeling one miss. Let's turn that squeaky cart down the aisles. Oh, the colors of the 1950s grocery store. Everything seemed brighter then. The packaging was screaming for your attention. Let's talk about the staples. The things that were in every single kitchen in America. First stop, the dairy case. Now, a lot of us still had the milkman. Do you remember the sound of the glass bottles clinking on the front porch before the sun came up? The cream rising to the top? But if you bought milk at the store, a whole gallon of fresh whole milk was around 90 cents. And butter, real butter, about 70 cents a pound. Now here's a memory test for you. Do you remember oleo? Margarine? Do you remember when it came white looking like lard because the dairy lobby didn't want it to look like butter? And it came with that little yellow flavor capsule dye packet inside the plastic bag. It was my job, and maybe it was yours too, to sit at the kitchen table and squeeze that bag, mixing the yellow dye into the white margarine until your hands were tired, just to save a few cents, because butter was for special occasions in some houses. Let's move to the bread aisle. It smelled like yeast and comfort. And there it was, the king of the aisle. Wonder Bread, in that white wrapper with the red, yellow, and blue balloons. It was soft as a cloud. You could ball a whole slice up into a tiny sphere in your hand. Nutritionists today would have a heart attack, but boy, did it make a good bologna sandwich. How much for a loaf? Maybe 18 cents. 2 dimes, and you got change back. Aisle by aisle we fill the cart. Campbell's soup. Tomato chicken noodle cream of mushroom from Mom's casseroles. Stacked in perfect pyramids at the end of the aisle. 10 cents a can. Maybe 3 for a quarter if there was a sale. A big box of Ritz crackers for 30 cents. A jar of peanut butter, real peanut butter that you had to stir, for about 40 cents. And coffee, the fuel of the American workforce. A 1-pound tin of Maxwell House or Folgers. Do you remember the key attached to the bottom of the tin? You'd break it off, thread it onto that little metal tab, and turn it. Hiss, that sound. Of the vacuum seal breaking, followed by the richest coffee smell you've ever experienced. 80 cents for a pound. And we can't forget the kids. The cereal aisle wasn't a mile long back then, but it had what we needed. Kellogg's Corn Flakes Rice Krispies. Maybe if it was a special week, sugar frosted flakes. What was the best part of the cereal? The prize inside the box. You dig all the way to the bottom, before the box was even half empty, getting sugar dust all over your arm, just to find that little plastic toy. A big box was about a quarter, 25 cents. Our cart is getting heavy now. It's getting harder to push that wobbly wheel. We swing by the produce section. It wasn't like today, where you can get strawberries in December that were flown in from another continent and taste like wet cardboard. In 1955, you ate what was in season. In the summer, the smell of peaches and melons was intoxicating. In the winter, you relied more on root vegetables and canned goods. 5 pounds of potatoes, dirty real potatoes, for about 35 cents. A big head of crisp iceberg lettuce for 15 cents. The cart is overflowing. You have meat for 2 weeks. You have pantry staples for a month. You have fresh items for the week. You have treats for the kids. We push this leaning mountain of food toward the front of the store, to the checkout. No scanners, no beeping. Just the rhythmic mechanical music of the cash register. Clack, clack, ding. Clack, clack, ding. The cashier is ringing it all up by hand. She's fast. She knows the prices by heart. And then the magic moment. The green stamps. Did your mom collect S and H green stamps? The cashier would dispense them from a little machine, depending on how much you spent. You'd take them home, lick them, they tasted awful, didn't they? And paste them into those little books. When you got enough books filled, you could take them to the redemption center and trade them in for a toaster, or a lamp, or a new set of dishes. It felt like getting something for free. So the cashier tallies it all up. The register rings the final total. For a cart that is literally bursting at the seams. A cart that would feed a family of 5 very well for at least a week, maybe 10 days. The total comes to $22.15. Think about that. $22.15. Now reach into your pocket. Pull out that $100 bill we talked about at the beginning. If you handed her that $100 bill, you could empty out nearly an entire aisle of the store. You would need a pickup truck to take it all home. You would be stocked up for months. It wasn't just about the cheap prices, folks. I know, people say, well, salaries were lower back then too. And yes, they were. The average working man might make $3,500 or $4,000 a year. But here is the difference. Here is what hurts when we look back. That $22 grocery trip, that was maybe one day's wages for Dad. One day of work to feed his family for a week or more. Let's come back to today. Come back to 2025. Walk into your local supermarket with a $100 bill today. You get a cart out of habit, but you don't need it. You grab a couple of pounds of decent ground beef. Not steak, just ground beef. That's $15 right there. A gallon of milk. $4. A loaf of bread that isn't full of air. $5. A dozen eggs. $4. Maybe some fresh chicken breasts. $15. Some coffee. $1.10. A little bit of fresh fruit, some vegetables, maybe a box of cereal and a bag of chips. You get to the checkout. More often than not, you have to check yourself out. You scan your own items. No friendly cashier asking about your day. The total? $98.50. You look down. You have 3 plastic bags sitting in the bottom of that giant cart. 3 bags for $100. You carry those light bags out to your car, and you don't feel that sense of abundance you felt in 1955. You just feel tired. You feel squeezed. You feel anxious because you know you have to come back and do it all again in 4 days because that food won't last. In 1955, Mom didn't stand in the aisle with a calculator, terrified she was going to overdraft the bank account if she bought the good peanut butter. Dad didn't lie awake at night, wondering how he was going to feed his kids if the car broke down and took the grocery money. The dollar was strong. It meant something. It represented a fair exchange for an honest day's work. And that's what we miss, isn't it? We don't just miss the 18-cent bread. We miss the feeling that went along with it. We miss the feeling of security. The feeling that if you played by the rules and worked hard, you could provide a good, decent, abundant life for your family without drowning in debt or stress. We miss the butcher who knew our name. We miss the smell of the coffee grinding. We miss the weight of that heavy overflowing cart pushed by a mother who wasn't frantic but content. Sometimes looking back isn't just about nostalgia. Sometimes it's about realizing what we've lost along the way and wishing we could get just a little bit of it back. I bet you have memories like this too. Maybe it was the specific candy you saved your pennies for. Maybe it was the job you had bagging groceries as a teenager for 75 cents an hour. Maybe it was just sitting in the cart while your mom shopped feeling safe. I want to hear your stories. Please take a moment and share your memories down in the comments below. Let's keep these golden days alive by talking about them. What do you miss most about the way things used to be? If this trip back in time brought a smile to your face or maybe a tear to your eye, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the Nostalgia Time Machine. We have a lot more traveling left to do, you and I. Until next time, friends, take care of yourselves and cherish those memories.